There are moments in life that blindside a man, moments so sharp they make you wonder if you ever truly saw things clearly at all. Maybe I'd been blind. Maybe I had chosen to be. That Saturday was supposed to be just another ordinary day. I had spent the morning in the garage, sleeves rolled up, wrench in hand, trying to fix the radiator on my truck. It had been giving me trouble for weeks, and I had finally set aside the time to get it done. Should have been simple, but nothing ever is. By the time I had tightened the last bolt, wiped the sweat from my forehead, and scrubbed the grease from my hands, the sun was already dipping behind the trees. I was exhausted, the kind of tired that seeps into your bones, weighing you down. My hands were raw from work, the scent of coolant still clinging to my clothes no matter how much I scrubbed. All I wanted was a hot shower, a cold beer, and the familiar hum of the television filling the silence of the house. But life had other plans. I did not know why I took that route home. Maybe it was habit. Maybe it was fate. But as I pulled up to a red light near O'Malley's bar, I saw something that made my stomach turn. Mike's truck. It was parked right out front, sitting under the dull flicker of the neon cold beer sign like it had been there for a while. I recognized that truck anywhere. I had helped him pick it out 3 years ago when his old one finally gave out. Mike and I had been best friends since college. We had spent half our lives getting into trouble together, then helping each other out of it. He was the guy I trusted with everything. And then I saw something else. A jacket. My jacket. Draped over the passenger seat like it belonged there. Like it had been there for days. For a second, my brain tried to rationalize it. Maybe he borrowed it. Maybe I had left it at his place during our last poker night. But deep down, I already knew the truth. The last time I saw that jacket, it was hanging on the hook in my hallway, right where I had left it 3 nights ago. A tight, uneasy feeling curled in my gut. I told myself I was overthinking, that there had to be a logical explanation, that I was not the kind of man who jumped to conclusions. And then I saw the purse. Her purse. Soft brown leather, gold zipper, a tiny scratch on the side from when she dropped it on the driveway last winter. It was sitting on the passenger seat, right beside my jacket. I gripped the steering wheel so tight my knuckles ached. My throat felt dry. My heartbeat thundered in my ears. I sat there, staring through the windshield, knowing that whatever I did next, there would be no going back. Then, without thinking, I turned into the parking lot. I parked a few spaces away, climbed out, and shut the door with a little too much force. My body moved before my mind could catch up, my legs carrying me forward with a purpose I did not question. The second I stepped inside, the familiar scent of beer and fried food hit me. The place was not packed, but there were enough people around that I had to scan the room. And then I saw them. In a booth near the back, tucked away just enough to not draw attention, but not enough to hide. Mike and my wife. At first glance, they could have passed for friends, just 2 people having a drink. But I knew better. I knew her. Knew the way she tilted her head when she was interested. The way she leaned in just a little too close. The way she smiled when she thought no one was watching. And I saw him too. The way he smirked, relaxed, too comfortable. Like they had done this before. The jacket. The purse. The way she had kissed me on the cheek before leaving the house, saying she was meeting a friend for coffee. Lies. Something inside me twisted. Something dark and ugly. My fingers curled into fists at my sides. My breathing slowed, measured, controlled. They had not even seen me yet. She laughed at something he said, tucking her hair behind her ear, and I saw his knees shift just a little closer to hers under the table. Not touching. Not yet. But close enough. Close enough to tell me everything I needed to know. Heat crawled up my neck, a slow, burning rage that I could not contain. This was not going to end with words. Someone said my name behind me, but I barely heard them. My focus was locked on them, on the 2 people who had sat in my home, smiled in my face, acted like nothing was wrong. I took a step forward. I do not even remember deciding to move. 1 second, I was standing there, my mind buzzing. The next, I was walking toward their table, my boots hitting the floor in a steady rhythm. I did not care who saw. I did not care what happened next. I only saw them. Mike and my wife. My best friend and my wife. Sitting there like they had all the time in the world. I was almost at their table when Mike finally looked up. His eyes met mine. And in that split second, I saw it. Recognition. Shock. Guilt. His face drained of color. His shoulders tensed. She noticed the change in him, turned to follow his gaze, and froze. At first, confusion flickered across her face. Then something else. Something she tried to hide. She was not expecting me. She was not expecting this. I stopped just short of the table, my fists clenched at my sides. My heart pounded against my ribs, a steady, unrelenting beat. I did not sit, did not give them a chance to explain, because there was no explaining this. Well, I said, my voice low, steady. Looks like I interrupted something. Mike swallowed hard, shifting in his seat. He had always been a smooth talker, always had an answer for everything. But right now, he had nothing. And her? She did what she always did. She pretended. Honey, what are you doing here? She asked, her voice light, casual. Too casual. She even smiled like I was the one acting strange. I felt something inside me snap. You tell me, I said, nodding toward the purse on the seat beside her. The same purse I had seen sitting in Mike's truck. Because unless you suddenly started driving his truck around town, I would love to hear how that got there. Her lips parted just a little. A flicker of hesitation. A second of panic. Then, just like that, she tried to smooth it over. Mike gave me a ride. A ride. That was the best she could come up with. Mike did not say a word. Smart move. He knew me. Knew what happened when I got pushed too far. A ride. I repeated, my voice flat, cold. And I suppose my jacket just magically ended up in his truck too? She hesitated. Just for a second. Just long enough for me to catch it. She knew she was caught. I borrowed it, she stammered. I was cold the other night, and I laughed. A sharp, bitter sound that made her flinch. The other night, I repeated. You mean the night you were working late? The night you came home smelling like some expensive cologne I do not even wear. I could see her scrambling, her mind racing for something. Anything that could explain this away. She knew me too well to cry. That would not work. So she tried something else. She tried to act calm. Try to stay in control. You are being ridiculous, she said, shaking her head, her voice too steady, too confident. It might have worked on someone else. Not me. Not now. I turned to Mike. He was still sitting there, silent, gripping his glass, so tight his knuckles were white. Ice clinked softly as his hand shook. Say something, I told him. He opened his mouth, closed it. I leaned in close, lowering my voice just for him. You afraid? His jaw tightened. He forced himself to meet my eyes. You need to calm down, man, he muttered. Wrong answer. Before I even realized what I was doing, my hand shot out, grabbed his glass, and threw it right in his face. The whiskey hit him hard, dripping from his hair, soaking his shirt. The glass clattered onto the table, ice scattering across the wood. The whole bar went silent. Every eye was on us now. People whispering, shifting in their seats. They had known us for years, seen us drinking together, laughing, watching each other's backs. But now they saw something else. Mike shoved his chair back, the legs scraping against the floor. His fists clenched, his chest rising and falling with heavy breaths. You want to do this here? He growled. I smiled. Because I did. Let's step outside, I said. But before I could move, she was in front of me, pressing her hands against my chest, voice sharp with panic. Stop it, she snapped. You are overreacting. Overreacting. I laughed again, shaking my head. That is what you think? That this is an overreaction? Then I saw it. The fear in her eyes. Not fear of me. Fear of the truth coming out. Because she knew. There was no talking her way out of this. No fixing what she had just shattered. Mike wiped his face with his sleeve, eyes burning with something between anger and shame. You think you're the victim here? I asked, stepping closer, my voice lower now, more dangerous. You think you get to be mad? Nothing happened, he spat. I smiled again. Not yet. My hand shot out, grabbing him by the collar before he could react. I yanked him forward, so close our noses nearly touched, so he could see what was coming. But before I could throw the first punch, strong hands grabbed my arms, pulling me back. People were getting involved now. Enough, man. Someone yelled. Not here. They dragged me away, pushing me toward the door. I did not fight them. Not yet. But I was not done. Not by a long shot. I did not take my eyes off Mike. Did not take my eyes off her. I saw the way she looked at him, the way she did not look at me. And in that moment, I knew this was not the first time. The realization should have knocked the wind out of me. It did not. It just made me angrier. As I reached the door, I turned one last time and locked eyes with her. "Do not come home tonight," I said, and then I walked out. I do not remember the drive home. One moment, I was stepping out of O'Malley's, fist still twitching from the fight that never happened. The next, I was pulling into my driveway, headlights slicing through the dark. I must have taken a long way back, or maybe I just was not paying attention. My hands were still tight on the wheel, my pulse hammering against my ribs. The rage had not gone anywhere. It sat there, thick and heavy, pressing down like a weight I could not shake. I killed the engine and sat there, gripping the wheel so hard my knuckles turned white. My breath was the only sound in the silence. She was not home. Good. I had not expected her to be. Not after what I had said. Not after what I had seen. But some stupid part of me still expected to see her car in the driveway. To see her silhouette waiting in the window, rehearsing the lies she would tell me when I walked through the door. She was not there. And somehow, that made me even angrier. I stepped out of the truck, slamming the door hard enough to rattle the windows. The air was cool, biting against my skin as I made my way up the porch steps. I did not hesitate, did not pause. I needed to get inside, needed to put my hands on something before I did something I would regret. The house was dark except for the faint glow of the kitchen light, the same one I always left on when I worked late. It felt different now, hollow, empty, like I was walking into a stranger's house instead of my own. I shut the door harder than I needed to. The sound echoed through the silence. I stood there in the entryway, fists clenching and unclenching. The air smelled stale, thick with her perfume, the same perfume she had been wearing at the bar. I yanked off my jacket and threw it over a chair. I did not sit. I could not. Instead, I paced, back and forth, like a caged animal. My mind raced, replaying every detail, every lie. She had been with him. Mike, my best friend, the man I had trusted more than anyone. How long? How many nights had she told me she was with a friend when she was really with him? How many times had she come home late, kissed me on the cheek, and pretended everything was fine? The thought made my skin burn. I grabbed a beer from the fridge, popped the cap, took a long drink. It did not help. The anger was still there, still clawing at me from the inside. My eyes landed on the pictures hanging on the wall. Our wedding photo. I stepped closer, my grip tightening around the bottle. We looked happy, before things got complicated, before she started coming home later and later, before she stopped looking at me the same way. Lies. I knocked the picture off the wall. The frame hit the floor with a dull thud, the glass cracking straight through the middle. It was not enough. I grabbed the vase she loved, the one she always filled with fresh flowers, and hurled it against the wall. The crash was loud. Pieces scattered everywhere. Still not enough. I stormed into the bedroom. The bed was still made. Her scent lingered on the pillows. I ripped the blankets off, yanked the pillows onto the floor. Her nightstand. I pulled the drawer open, rummaging through her things. Then, her phone charger. I stared at it for a second. Then I yanked it out of the wall and threw it across the room. She was not coming back tonight. That was clear. But when she did, asterisk, asterisk, if she did, asterisk, asterisk, I wanted her to see. I wanted her to feel it. I turned, heading for the door, and then I saw it. A single glass sitting on the coffee table. Lipstick on the rim. Not mine. Hers. It could have been from this morning. Maybe last night. Or maybe another night I did not even know about. Did not matter. I picked up the glass, turned it over in my hand, staring at the smudged lipstick on the rim. The sight of it made my stomach turn. I had kissed those lips, loved those lips. Now, they belonged to someone else. With a quick flick of my wrist, I sent the glass sailing into the sink. It shattered on impact, sharp and final. I did not watch it break. I just walked out the door. No plan, no direction, just the road ahead of me and the weight in my chest that felt heavier than it had any right to be. The truck's engine growled low, a deep, familiar rumble beneath me, but I barely noticed it. My fingers clenched around the wheel, the tension in my knuckles refusing to fade. I drove, not toward anything in particular, just away, away from the house that did not feel like mine anymore, away from the lies, the betrayal, the memories that now felt like a cruel joke. I should have gone to a bar, or a motel, or called someone. But the person I would have called, Mike, was the reason I was driving in the first place. And my wife? I did not know where she was. Maybe she was at a friend's place, spinning her story about how I had overreacted. Maybe she was at a hotel, staring at the ceiling, realizing she had nowhere to go. Or maybe, just maybe, she was with him. My jaw tightened, the pressure making my teeth ache. I could find out. I still had her location on my phone, a remnant from a time when trust had not been a question. All it would take was a quick tap on a screen, and I would know exactly where she was. But I did not check, because it did not matter. The damage was done. I was not the kind of man who needed proof twice. The town disappeared behind me, the roads growing darker, emptier. At some point, I found myself near the lake. Not on purpose, just muscle memory, I guess. It used to be our place. Before life got in the way, before she found time for him instead. The tires crunched over gravel as I pulled into the empty lot. I killed the engine, the sudden silence making my ears ring. For a long time, I just sat there, staring out at the water. The wind howled through the trees, the lake stretching out in front of me, black and endless. The moon's reflection shattered across its surface. It was too quiet, and for the first time since I had left that bar, the anger began to settle. Not fade, not disappear, just shift, because now there was room for something else. Memories. I saw her years ago barefoot on the dock, twirling, laughing, arms stretched wide like she could take off flying. I never want this to end, she had told me, breathless, eyes full of something too pure to doubt. Promise me it won't. And I had. I had promised. The memory made my stomach turn. That girl, the one who stood on the dock with stars in her eyes, she was gone. Or maybe she had never been real in the first place. I let out a sharp exhale, rubbing a hand over my face. The anger crept back in, curling around my ribs like barbed wire. I had given her everything. A home, love, loyalty, a life. And she threw it away. For him. A sharp knock on the window yanked me from my thoughts. I jerked, my body tensing on instinct. My first thought was her. Maybe she had followed me. Maybe she had something else to say. But it was not her. It was Tom. I sighed and rolled down the window. The hell are you doing out here? Tom was one of the only decent men left in town. We were not best friends, but we had fished together, had drinks now and then. He owned the bait shop, had been around long enough to know what mattered and what did not. And right now, he was looking at me like he already knew. You all right? He shoved his hands in his coat pockets. I let out a breath that still tasted like whiskey. Do I look all right? Tom sighed, glancing back at his truck before looking at me again. Heard what happened? Of course he had. Small town. Everyone would know soon enough. I clenched my jaw. Then you already know the answer. He nodded, shifting on his feet. You staying out here all night? I shrugged. Maybe. You should go home. I laughed, bitter and empty. Not much of a home left. Tom exhaled, rubbing the back of his neck. Yeah, he muttered. I get that. Silence stretched between us. He was not the kind of man to pry, but he was also not the kind to let another man sit alone in the cold, with nothing but his rage for company. You want a drink? He offered. I almost said no, but then I realized I did not want to be alone. I nodded. Yeah, I do. He jerked his head toward his truck. Come on, then. First round is on me. I climbed out of my truck, shoving my hands in my pockets. The wind cut through my shirt, but I barely felt it. As we walked toward his truck, Tom spoke again. For what it is worth, he said, voice low, I always thought she was not good enough for you. I did not answer. I did not have to, because deep down, I was starting to think the same damn thing. The bar Tom took me to was not the kind of place you went for a good time. It was the kind you ended up in when you had nowhere else to be. A dive on the edge of town, where the neon sign flickered like it was trying to decide whether to stay on or just give up completely. Inside, the air was thick with the scent of stale beer and cigarettes, even though smoking indoors had been illegal for years. A few regulars were hunched over the bar, nursing their drinks, eyes heavy with the kind of exhaustion that never really left. No one looked up when we walked in. No one cared. And that was exactly what I needed. Tom led us to a booth in the back, dropping into the seat across from me like he had done this 100 times before. Maybe he had. Maybe he had sat right where I was now, Angry, lost, drowning in betrayal deeper than any wound ever could go. He did not speak at first, just flagged down the waitress and ordered 2 whiskeys neat. No small talk, no questions. He knew better than that. I leaned back, rubbing a hand over my face. My skin felt too tight, stretched too thin. I had not even looked in a mirror since leaving the house, but I could feel it. Whatever expression I was wearing, it was not pretty. The waitress dropped off her drinks. I took mine and drank deep. Tom did the same. For a while, we just sat there, drinking, existing. He was the one who finally broke the silence. You want to talk about it? I allowed a dry laugh. You already know, do you not? Yeah, he admitted. But hearing it from someone else and hearing it from you, not the same thing. I stare at my drink, watching the ice melt. You ever see it coming? I asked. Tom did not answer right away. He swirled his glass, watching the whiskey catch the light. No, he finally said. I did not. I looked at him. When was it? 5 years ago, he said. She left. Took half of everything. Did not even have the guts to tell me to my face. Just left a note on the kitchen table. I exhaled sharply. Damn. Yeah, he muttered. Hurts like hell, does it not? I did not answer. Did not need to. Because my wife had not left. Not yet. 6 months. Half a year. 200 damn days of deception. I stood there, breathing slow, controlled, my body locked tight with anger that no longer burned. It was something sharper now, something cold and calculated. Rick swallowed hard, his back still pressed against the wall, his hands half raised like he was expecting me to throw the first punch. And I wanted to. God, I wanted to. But hitting him? That would be too easy. That would be letting him off the hook. You spent 6 months lying to my face, I said, voice low, steady. 6 months sitting across from me, drinking my beer, acting like we were still brothers. He ran a hand over his face, shaking his head. It wasn't. Do not. I cut in. Do not tell me it was not like that. He snapped his mouth shut, because we both knew it was exactly like that. 6 months, I repeated. How does that even start, huh? How does a man look his best friend in the eye and decide to betray him? Rick exhaled sharply, rubbing the back of his neck. I do not know, man. It just happened. That made me laugh. A hard, humorless sound. It just happened, I echoed. Like you slipped and fell into my wife. He flinched. It was not like that. Then how was it? I snapped. Rick hesitated, and that told me everything. Jesus, I muttered, shaking my head. You do not even have the balls to own it. He let out a breath, his shoulders slumping. I screwed up. I stared at him. That was it. That was what he had to say. You screwed up. I repeated slowly, my hands twitching at my sides. That is what you were going with. Rick sighed, dragging a hand down his face. I was going to tell you. I was on him before I even realized I had moved. My fist connected with his jaw, sending him staggering backward, knocking a lamp off the side table. Rick caught himself against the couch, breathing hard, one hand pressed against his face. I stepped forward, but he threw up a hand, wincing. All right. I deserve that. You deserve a hell of a lot more than that, I growled. Rick spat onto the floor, wiping his mouth. What do you want me to say? He muttered. I want you to tell me the truth, I said. I want to know if any of it meant a damn thing to you. Because I trusted you, Rick. I trusted you with everything. He looked away. I know. I clenched my jaw. Then why? Rick let out a long breath, sinking onto the edge of the couch, rubbing his hands over his face like a man carrying too much weight. Because I was weak, he admitted finally. Because she was there, and I was stupid, and I told myself it did not mean anything. But it did. He nodded, his gaze dropping to the floor. Yeah, he muttered. It did. The air between us was thick, heavy with things that could never be undone. I should have felt something. Satisfaction. Closure. But all I felt was tired. I exhaled, shaking my head. You and I said, we are done. Rick swallowed, nodding. Yeah, he said quietly. I figured. I took one last look at the man I had called my best friend for years, the man I had trusted more than anyone. And then I turned and walked out the door. The night air hit me hard, crisp and cold against my skin. I stood there for a second, breathing it in, try to let it wash away the last of the rage still curling inside me. It did not. I climbed into my truck, gripping the wheel so tight my knuckles turned white. 6 months. 6 months of betrayal. 6 months of sitting across from her at dinner, of holding her at night, of believing we still had something worth saving. And the whole time, she had already chosen him. I did not start the engine right away. I just sat there, staring at the house, watching as the light from inside flickered against the curtains. I had gotten my answer, but did not change a damn thing. I was still alone, still broken. And my wife? She had not even come looking for me. I exhaled slowly, the breath fogging against the windshield. I was done. With her. With him. With all of it. And for the first time since this whole thing started, I knew exactly what I had to do next. I was not going home. Not tonight. Not ever. 6 months. 6 months of waking up next to her, thinking she was mine. 6 months of sitting across from Rick, sharing drinks, talking about life, believing he was my brother. 6 months of being the biggest damn fool alive. I clenched my jaw until it ached. Did you love her? Rick blinked. What? You heard me, I said, my voice colder than the night outside. Did you love her? He hesitated, and in that hesitation, I got my answer. Something snapped inside me. Before I even thought about it, my fist crashed into his face. The crack of bone against bone echoed through the house. Rick stumbled back, knocking over a chair, hitting the floor hard. I did not stop. I grabbed his shirt, yanked him up, and slammed him back down again. He gasped, hands scrambling at my arms, but he was too slow, too weak. I hit him again, and again. My knuckles split open, but I did not care. I wanted him to hurt. I wanted him to feel even a fraction of the pain I had been carrying since the moment I saw them together. Was she worth it? I growled, my voice barely human. Was throwing away 15 years of friendship worth screwing my wife? Rick groaned, blood dripping from his nose. I am sorry. I yanked him close, my face inches from his. You're not sorry, I spat. You were just sorry you got caught. I shoved him away, breathing hard, my chest rising and falling in ragged gasps. Rick stayed on the floor, his face a mess of blood and bruises. His expression was a sick mix of guilt and fear. I should have felt something, some sense of satisfaction, some sense of justice. But all I felt was emptiness. This was not enough. Nothing would ever be enough. I wiped my knuckles on my jeans, shaking on my hands. They hurt. My whole body hurt. But I needed to leave. I needed to get out of there before I did something I could not take back. I turned for the door, yanked it open. But before I stepped out, I looked over my shoulder one last time. If I ever see you again, I said, my voice quiet but deadly, I will not stop at a few punches. Rick swallowed hard, his atoms apple bobbing. I did not wait for an answer. I slammed the door behind me. The night air hit me like a slap. I took a deep breath, filling my lungs, trying to breathe. But it did not work. Because no matter how much I fought, no matter how much I bled, no matter how much I tried to burn it all down, the damage was already done, and there was no coming back from it. I did not drive home right away. I could not. My hand was still shaking, my pulse still hammering, my knuckles still throbbing from every hit I had landed. The rage had not faded. If I went home like this, asterisk asterisk if I saw her like this, asterisk asterisk, I did not know what I would do. So I drove, not toward anything, just away. The town blurred past me, a mess of streetlights and empty roads. My mind was a storm, loud, chaotic, impossible to silence. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw them, sitting in that bar, laughing, whispering, touching. 6 months. That is what Rick had said. Half a damn year. Half a year of her sneaking around behind my back. Half a year of him sitting across from me, lying to my face. I gritted my teeth, so hard my jaw ached. I should have done more. Should have hit him harder. Should have broken something more than just his nose. But it would not have changed anything. Because the truth was, the damage was already done. And it was not just Rick I hated. I hated her. I hated the way she made me believe in something real. Something worth fighting for, only to rip it away like it meant nothing. I hated the way she smiled at me every morning, the way she kissed me before bed, the way she said, I love you, like it was not a goddamn lie. I hated how much I still wanted answers, even when I knew no answer would ever be good enough. I did not know how long I drove, but eventually, I ended up back in my own driveway. Her car was there. She was waiting. Good. Because we were about to have our last conversation. I stepped inside without hesitating. No slow movements. No second guessing. She was in the living room, curled up on the couch like she had been waiting all night. Her face was pale, her eyes rimmed red like she had been crying. I did not care. She sat up when she saw me, sucking in a sharp breath. Her gaze flicked to my hands, my bruised, bloodied knuckles. "You went to him," she whispered. I did not answer. I walked past her, straight to the kitchen. Poured myself a glass of water. Drank it slowly. Let the silence stretch. She did not move. Did not speak. She was waiting for me to start. Waiting for me to yell, to scream, to demand answers. But I would not give her that. Not anymore. I turned, leaning against the counter, meeting her eyes across the room. "How long?" She swallowed. "What?" "You heard me," I said, voice calm, steady. "How long were you going to keep lying to me?" Her hands twisted in her lap. "Do not lie." She flinched, then sighed, rubbing a hand over her face. "I do not know," she admitted. I did not want to hurt you." I laughed. "Yeah? Could have fooled me." She looked away. "It just happened." That is not an answer. I did not mean for it to. I slammed my glass onto the counter. "Bullshit." She jumped, and for the first time since I walked in, I saw it. Fear. Not fear of me. Fear of what came next. Because she knew. I was not the same man who left this house hours ago. I was not her husband anymore. I was someone else. Someone who had nothing left to lose. "Just tell me the truth," I said. For once. She looked at me, searching for something. Maybe for the man who used to love her. But he was gone. "Okay," she whispered. "Okay." She exhaled slowly, pressing a hand to her forehead like it physically hurt to admit it. "It started before I even realized what was happening," she said. "Rick, he was there, and I was lonely, and you were always." I narrowed my eyes. "Always what?" She hesitated. "Busy," she finally said. "Distant. Working late. Going out with the guys. I felt like I was not important to you anymore." I stared at her. Then I laughed. Because of course, that was the excuse. "Let me get this straight," I said, voice dripping with venom. "You felt lonely. So instead of talking to me, your husband, you decided to sleep with my best friend?" "It was not like that," she shot back. I held up a hand. "I do not care." Her mouth snapped shut. I shook my head. "You think I give a damn about your excuses? You think anything you say right now is going to make this better?" Her lip trembled. "I never wanted to lose you. Then you should not have thrown me away." Silence. Thick. Suffocating. She blinked rapidly, trying not to cry. And for the first time since this started, I felt nothing. Not love. Not pain. Not even anger. Just nothing. She must have seen it in my face, the way everything had drained out of me, because her expression changed. Desperation flickered in her eyes, raw and frantic. "I can fix this," she whispered. I shook my head. "No, you cannot." Her breath hitched. "You do not mean that." I took a slow step forward, watching as she shrank back just a little. "I meant it when I married you," I said. "I meant it when I built a life with you. I meant it every single time I looked at you and thought, she is the only woman I will ever need." Her lower lip trembled. "Please." "But you," I continued, "meant none of it." Tears slipped down her cheeks now, silent and steady. "I did. I swear I did." "Then why was I not enough?" She sucked in a sharp breath, like I had struck her. And in that moment, I knew she had no answer. Because there was no answer. She had everything. A man who gave her a home. A man who chose her day after day. A man who never once looked at another woman the way he looked at her. And she had thrown it away. For what? A few stolen moments? A thrill? Something new? It did not matter. It was too damn late to fix it. I exhaled slowly, stepping back. "This marriage is over," I said. She gasped, shaking her head violently. No, we can fix this. We can. I'm done." I interrupted, my voice calm. "Cold. You made your choice. Now live with it." Her breath came in sharp, uneven bursts. "You do not mean that." I held her gaze, made sure she saw it, the finality in my eyes. "I do." And that was when she broke. She sobbed, crumbling in on herself, hands covering her face, shoulders shaking. The kind of tears that might have once made me fold, made me soften. Not anymore, because this was her mess, and I was done cleaning up after her. I turned away, walked to the door, grabbed my keys off the counter. As I reached for the handle, she spoke, her voice barely above a whisper. What do I do now? I did not even look at her when I answered. Figure out. And then I walked out. For good.